Okay, so let's go ahead. Got our audio on, got our video on, got our other video on. We're set to go. Let's do this. Tell me where to put this. All right, so first thing I want to go over is we'll start with this with probably one of the best supporting mods in terms of what you could do to your interior on your M3. This goes for supercharged. I would 100% do this if I were you. If you are supercharged and you don't have this, I suggest you do get this gauge. The overall first thing we're going to go over is just the overall OEM integration. This gauge is beautiful. It goes in perfectly. It matches the same color of all the interior lights. It's orange. It's the same. The color match it exact. So it looks like it actually belongs in this car coming from the factory. On the newer BMWs, they actually have some of this information built in, if not all. There's a couple things on here that you're going to get, like air-fuel ratio and other things. But let's go ahead and next we're going to look at, we'll start at the beginning. So the way it activates is your voice control switch. You press it one time and it'll actually switch modes. This is grabbing all the data from your OBD port and it's displaying what Awron thought was relevant to the end user while we're driving. So they put in all the basically the most crucial information you can get. So we'll go ahead and press it once, and the first screen. Now, every time I'm canceling that out, what I'm doing is just pressing any of the iDrive buttons. It'll just shut off the voice command so it doesn't keep asking me or trying to pick up my voice. It's horrible in these cars, as you know already. It's not anything like Siri or Alexa. So first thing is we have on the top left our battery voltage, which we're reading 3.5 volts right now. We have our boost pressure. This is specifically on the compressor model of the gauge. This is for boosted cars only, obviously. We have our water temperature right here, coolant temperature, and we also have our oil temperature. So let's go ahead and get into boost right now. Pulled 7 PSI on there. Alright, so there's the basic demonstration of how the boost gauge works. It's nice to monitor boost, you know, if you have any boost leaks, to see if you're, it's just vital for any modded, I mean, this is a really big mod doing the supercharger. Any modded car, especially even on the 335 or anything like that, I would 100% get this gauge. As you see, our oil temperature went up a little when we were pulling boost, 203 degrees, totally within range, totally normal. Now, compared to the OEM gauge, I'm looking right now on the dash, it says 210 degrees. On this, it's showing 203. So this is showing a little bit more accurate. I'm not sure where the OEM is getting its temperature from versus this. Actually, we do know. It's the it's the OBD2 port. So we're actually pulling the same information, but you have your digital readout, which is going to give you an exact number versus the gauge on the dash, kind of just needles just swinging around there. So let's go to the next page. Press with one press. This is going to be our torque value, and it still holds the voltage, the oil, and the water temperature. So you're still seeing that information. This is good for an NA car. So you want to, you want to have something cool to look at while you're doing this. You can do your torque. As you know, the S65s are not really torquey. So let's go and pull some torque here. So, pulled a good amount of torque. One thing on this gauge I will say about its values is going to be that it kind of it's a little generous with the with what it's showing. Like for example, it shows up to 550 pounds of torque, which is total bullshit. Doesn't hit that at all. On a real dyno, well, we're talking wheel torque. I believe this one did about 420. So I don't know if 550 is really a correct value to show, but you'll see why in the next screen. So let's go. Alright, so next we're going to go to horsepower. This is going to be everyone's favorite one, obviously.
Please repeat.
Again, with the annoying shit. The horsepower, I'm on a street right now. I'm not really on a freeway, so can't really max it out. But let's go ahead and look. So this is probably your go-to setting right here, your go-to screen if you are on an NA car. Again, it's going to show your coolant, your oil temperature, and your voltage. I've gotten my maximum value that I've showed on this was actually 768 horsepower. When I had the car dynoed, it was at 555 wheel horsepower, so our numbers are way off. Even with the drivetrain loss conversion, we're still not showing anything correct. But I mean, every dyno's different, so this is just the calculation that they did and they felt was correct, which that's, you know, they're all going to be different. So let's go ahead and do the next one. This is going to be our 0 to 60 time. So in order for us to do this, we need to stop.
You are listening to 100.
Yeah, we don't want radio, no thanks. So what this does is, the minute the car is completely stopped, which I'll do right here, I'll just stop the car. We are literally in the worst place to do this. We're in like a neighborhood. So it's going to go ahead and do its little thing, and it's going to start counting. It's basically going to start counting your time all the way to 60 miles an hour, and it has a second slot for 120. Your 0 to 60 and your 0 to 120. So we didn't even hit the time. It just cancels out. It's not going to keep counting. But only issue with this is that it's pulling the wheel speed, and it's not a true speed. If you look right here, it's held my best, which was 0 to 60 in 2.41 seconds, which is totally bullshit. The tires were going that fast, the car was not. So we were just spinning tire. We weren't gripping at all. So that's what first gear gets you in these cars when they're supercharged. So there you go, that's one little pull. The max speed, 249, another bullshit number. I don't know why that's there. I don't know if they just put that on there, or I think on the dyno, that's the speed they hit on the dyno. So ignore that. If you do have this gauge, go ahead and comment below that that's bullshit, because no one's hitting 249 in any car. Well, I don't know about that, but pretty sure. Next screen is going to be our GForces. Let me go ahead and, as you see, we're going to go ahead and at a light, at a stop sign. Let's go ahead and pull.
Please repeat.
So there you go on the GForces. Pretty self-explanatory. The car actually, if you do have the newer iDrive, your car actually has a GForce meter built in. You have to download the M app from BMW, and you have to plug it in through the data connection, the iPhone connection, and it'll actually come up on the iDrive. It's a little laggy. It's not really, I don't know how true it is. I don't know if the phone is measuring it, or I believe the car is, but it's super laggy and it's super buggy. I don't think they've updated the app since, and it's just not as accurate as this. No traction right now at all. All right, next. This is going to be your full torque and horsepower.
This function is only available.
Shut up. So it's going to basically show you on the left, you got your horsepower and you got your torque on the right. And as you increase, it increases. The only issue I have with this graph is that as soon as you gun it, or as soon as you want to, throw some data on it, it immediately disappears. Like, boom. No, I can't really see anything. Maybe if it was like a little longer and we were holding like 30 seconds of data straight, it'd be a lot better. But with this, you're only seeing the data for, I think it's like 10 seconds. And by the time you're driving, so you're not looking down there. So by the time you want to look at it, it's already gone. So I don't really use this one at all. Let's go to the next one. Next is going to be fuel pressure and transmission temp. Manual transmissions, I wouldn't really worry about it. My range I show is usually... I really want to code that out. That shit's annoying as hell. So 175 to about 210 is what I see on a manual transmission. My friend has a dual clutch with the 650 kit, 650 ESS tuning supercharger with upgraded clutch and everything. And he hits temps 300 to 400, I believe it was. He showed on Instagram. So, and that put him into limp mode. That was before he upgraded the clutch. So that's a good, if you have a dual clutch and you want to see what temps you're showing, that's a very aggressive system. And if it's tuned, you're obviously going to put the temps up. So you can tell, you can watch your temps and see if you need to upgrade to the new cooler to get lower temps on the clutch so you don't go into limp mode. So fuel pressure, I'm not really familiar with what I should be, but as you see, it increases as we go. If you're having issues, I guess, with fuel, you would know, you just pull this up, you would go on the forums, you search what should the average idle PSI be for my fuel pressure, and basically you cross-reference it with what it's supposed to be and what you're showing on your gauge live. So that's a good thing to check fuel pumps. And it looks like if we go into idle, we go out of gear, we're all over the place. So I don't know the actual, I haven't had an issue with any fuel problems, so I haven't looked into that or really know what's going on with the correct values, but we don't have any issues, so this seems to be correct. Let's go ahead and go to the next screen. This is probably one of my favorite screens for the E92 M3. Because this is one of the huge issues that these cars have. You get the O2 sensors are going out on these cars like crazy. If you're supercharged, you're blowing them out probably every 5 months. I've already done it twice. I've had friends that are blowing them. Here's a quick note: if you're supercharged and your O2 sensors are done, you have a chance that you will cause catastrophic damage to the engine because you are not showing the correct air-fuel ratios. So the way to tell if your air-fuel ratios are bad is you just go to this screen and we see we have bank 1 and bank 2. What's going to happen is on a defective sensor is it's not going to report accurately. So your value, like let's see, we're at 1 right now. This is red and delta. So we're showing 1 air-fuel. I don't know what the correct way to say it. Let's just say we're at 1. Well, I had my air-fuel sensors on pre-cat go bad, and I didn't even get a check engine light, but what I noticed on here was the values were not the same. So if you notice, if you modulate the throttle or anything, the values kind of both bank 1 and bank 2, they both follow each other. So what was happening was my bank 2 was being very responsive, going back and forth. My bank 1 was like stuck on 3 and it wasn't moving. When I pressed the throttle, nothing was happening. So I pulled Carly out, I checked the codes. What do you know, I got misfires and I got an O2 sensor failure going on. So that was nice. I replaced bank 1, and our values went basically back almost to normal. They were kind of lagging still. I checked, I had another misfire via Carly. I changed bank 2 pre-cat, and boom, we're back to normal, so we're fixed. Crucial for supercharged cars, you want to always be checking that value to make sure that your O2s you're getting the correct ratios and we're reporting the right amount of fuel to air ratio so we don't blow our engines. Alright, and exhaust gas temps, self-explanatory. This is, I don't know if it's coming off the O2 sensor or where this sensor is, but it's giving us our exhaust. I've seen it get up to 1500 degrees before. I don't really look at that. I haven't had an issue where I had to reference that or check what was going on with it. So let's go to the next screen. This is probably my second favorite screen. Living in Vegas, we have very bad heat waves during the summer, and heat with a boosted car is shit. If you have hot air, the performance just goes completely to shit. When you have cold air, then we're really good. So let's see, we have intake temp. So this is going to be pre-boost. This sensor is actually they put it right into my intake on the ESS kit. There's basically, you have your air filter, and then right after the air filter they drilled out a little hole and they inserted that sensor. So that's our intake temp. We're pulling that, and then what it's doing is the air is going through the supercharger, and then now it's going through the manifold, and the manifold is air to water cooled. So it's basically, we have our boost temperature on one of the what do you call them, the cylinders where the air is coming through after the manifold, and that's basically that's going to be our boosted pressure. That's going to be our temp. So right now we're showing 105 degrees coming in, and after boost we're showing 109. Now the car's not moving right now, so we're going to show higher temps, but if you're on the freeway, you'll notice it be probably a 5 to 10 degree difference. So it's just good to watch, and you have your boost pressure, of course. So you're seeing very vital information to know how the car is running. You can basically, I like being very anal with everything on the car. I want to see live data. I love seeing the intake temps, how bad they are. I see them in the summer get up to 120, 130 degrees because you're picking up heat off the street. It gets super hot, and it's just good information to have. So let's go to the next screen. All right, so this is the max value screen, one of two. There's two of them. So what this screen is going to show you is the max values from the current drive. It's not going to show you the max values overall. It will not store that. So there's no way for us to keep the data over the whole term of basically, if it's been installed forever, you're not going to see all that data. You're only going to see it for the current drive. Got a little blah there, talking so much. So first we have our maximum water temp, we have our maximum oil temp, we have our maximum speed, we had our long and lateral G-forces, we have our torque value, and we have our power. So what I was saying earlier about this giving us a horsepower reading that was incorrect, 746 horsepower, but on a dyno we're seeing 555 horsepower. So huge difference, 200 horsepower difference from drivetrain loss? I don't think so. We're just having inflated numbers from this gauge. Same thing on the torque. The torque value, more realistic. I believe we showed 420 wheel torque, and we're at 577. I wish I had these numbers, but I really don't. So let's go ahead and go to the next page. And if you keep it on this page, these numbers will update. So if you want to keep it on there, you can. Every time you hit a max value, it's gonna go ahead and update. So next one, max value, boost pressure 7 psi, fuel pressure, our max was 95, exhaust gas 1,115 degrees Fahrenheit. Intake temp, our worst was, well, there you go, your intake temp was 145. I said during summer we see that. Apparently we saw it during this drive. It's only 74 degrees out, by the way. So just to give you a reference, 74 degrees out, and we're hitting a maximum intake temp of 145. That was probably when we were just sitting still. Boost temp, 138 was the max. So you can subtract those two, and that would be your, that's how good our intercooler was working. Transmission temp, maximum 188. So that's basically the whole run through on this gauge. Let's go ahead and go to the next page.
No address saved as home address.
It just shows the logo, and then the screen shuts off. I do recommend you keep it in this if you're going to valet the car. Last thing we need is you valeting it to some 22-year-old, and they're going to see that boost pressure, and they're just going to want to, you know how people are. They see that shit, they're going to freak out, and they're going to want to start, fucking with your car. So I keep it off when I valet. I've only valeted in situations where I had to and had no other choice. So that's that. The next thing we're going to do, we'll go back to the first screen. And if you need to do any OBD2 diagnostics, if you need to use that port, this is grabbing the information from that port. So you need to actually put the gauge into a maintenance mode in order to access any. If you're going to plug into the OBD, you have to go into maintenance mode. I'll show you how to do that right now. So we're going to hold, the basic instruction is hold the voice command switch for 10 seconds. So go ahead and hold it. That was gas. Boom, it'll blink again. Boom, we're in now, you have the message service mode, and you can now access the port. So if you take the car into service anywhere, you need to go ahead and put it in service mode before you drop it off, in my opinion, and tell the service advisor or whoever's working on the car that if they reset the power or anything and they plug it back in, you're going to have your boost gauge come back up, and he still needs to go enter the service mode in order to get past all that. Another thing is the units on this. It's either, I believe, American or it's German units. So you're seeing metric, you're seeing different values into that mode in a whole different language, which I have no reason to run it, but I guess the company is from Germany, so that's the second language they put on there, which this can change to. So that's pretty much it. That's the full run through. Let's go ahead and go back into our boost. And there you go. That's the basic rundown. Like I said, if you are NA, you do not need to have the compressor version of this gauge. So one other thing is, if you do have a supercharger and you have specifically the ESS supercharger, they sell a velocity stack that will tap into the boost temp, that will allow you to tap in. It basically includes, it's a metal piece. It's about $200, and it has two inputs. The inputs are threads for the boost pressure sensor and also the boost temperature sensor. So those two sensors plug right in. If you don't have that, then you're going to have to tap into the OEM, the ESS velocity stack, which has no ports on it, which that's a huge pain in the ass. If you just want to get it done and quick and make it easy to do, go ahead and do that. If not, you can go the other way. You'll save yourself $200 if you know how to do that. So that's pretty much it. Highly recommended. You do lose one air vent, which kind of sucks, but if two people are in the car, then that's when there's an issue, because now you have 3 vents and you have 2 people. So besides that, love the gauge. Definitely recommended. I use it literally every single day in terms of I look through the menus. I'm always messing around. You want to see what's going on with the car. You want to have a live readout. And you know, it's also cool for just for show if you want to do that. This does offer a better solution than the BMW M Performance steering wheel, in my opinion, but you don't get the shift light that the steering wheel gets, which is a whole nother thing. So that's pretty much it. That's all the that's the breakdown, and we are done. So I'll just go ahead and put it onto my favorite screen. And that's it. We're good to go. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and comment, subscribe. Let me know if you picked one up. And there you go. Have a good day.